right. Two heads are better than one headed right. Two heads are better than one headed right. Two heads are better than one headed right. Two heads are better than one.
Hello! Welcome back to our channel. If you are returning, welcome, period, if you're new here. Hi, my name is Evalyn.
My name is Monty.
And together we're the Two-Headed Writer. We are a father-daughter writing team originally from Stillwater, Oklahoma. However, we are currently here in, I guess technically Coralville, Iowa, because I am attending the University of Iowa in Iowa City, and he's here visiting.
Once a week we get together and talk about our writing. So we talk about our individual writing projects, the book we're writing together, things Evelyn was learning at school, and problems that we run into, and I don't know, how many fingers you got?
I got one more.
Oh, and random things that come up. Where shall we start? How have you been doing on your own book?
So I told myself I was going to finish an outline for my project by the beginning of November. That is Friday. This coming Friday is November 1st.
That's not fair.
And so I have until this coming Friday, which will have passed by the time this video is up.
And will you have an outline?
Potentially.
Really?
I have this week to work on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have any big writing projects due this week.
Okay. Well, you do, though.
Well, outline.
Your outline.
But I don't have any graded writing projects due this week.
I'll grade it if you want me to.
I don't want you to.
I'll give you an A.
This past week I had two large writing projects due. I had a short story for my Foundations of Creative Writing class, and I had a 10-page short play due for my playwriting class.
And when do I get to read either one of those?
Well, I was gonna give you a copy of the short play because I had to print some out, but then I didn't get to read mine in class, so I need it for Tuesday, so you don't get a copy. Sorry. But I can send you PDFs of both projects.
Digital files.
Digital files.
Let's have them. I want to read them.
Yeah.
Alright, so that's where you're at with your studies. You just turned in two big projects.
Yes.
And are you just sort of waiting now to see what comes next, or do you know?
I know what comes next, generally. In my Foundations class, our next assignment is to create a piece that takes place in one excursion. Covers a single excursion.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes, okay. And I think I want to try to write it at the very least fantasy, at the very most middle grade fantasy. Short story.
Nice.
Because I haven't done anything like that for class yet, and I want to see how my teacher / peers in my small group react.
Make it super fun.
As far as I know, absolutely nobody else has attempted to write fantasy even in that class. So
I say go for it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't have a concept yet, but you know, like a single excursion could be just like a little questy thing.
Yeah, a little questy thing. A questant.
What about you?
What about me? Ask me questions. Go ahead. Ask me anything. I'm prepared.
Ask you anything. So, where are you with personal writing?
Where am I with personal writing? I am probably not anywhere different from last time I spoke about it on here. I have my first draft of my book printed out in a binder. I could show it to you. It's right over there. could bring it. Yes, a 3-ring binder.
As opposed to...
A 3-ring circus. I have gone through the first few chapters and taken notes. I have re-outlined the first section of the book. And then I got completely distracted by our book together.
So we're currently reworking the first part of our Together book.
Yes, and when she says we, she means me.
I'm helping.
Evalyn, you read my new opening line
Yes.
and tore it to pieces
Indeed.
because you hated it so much.
Uh-huh. Just pure and utter hatred.
I have made a new attempt, and surprise, I have it right here.
Whoa! Is this the Ellen show?
Now don't sound all sarcastic because you didn't know I had that with me, did you?
I figured when you pulled out your iPad that you were going to make me read something.
You knew me too well.
I knew.
Alright. Here we are. Chapter 1, Stranger in a Strange House. Voila!
The tiny orange-furred creature dashed straight toward Macy across the hardwood balcony floor. Her scalp tingled. Such an impossible thing shouldn't be possible. It skidded to a stop and reached its arms up, begging to be lifted. Then, as if it were trying to make her pass out from shock, it spoke. In a small, gravelly voice, it clearly shouted, "Spicy Moon Hat!" Macy Abbott had grappled with enough of life in her 12.5 years to know certain things were impossible. You could never unsay words you didn't mean. A pile of ashes could not reform itself into a home. Dead parents could not come back to life. And there was definitely no such thing as a walking, talking, cheese puff-colored rodent. Yet her own senses were telling her otherwise. I have thoughts.
She has thoughts, are we surprised?
So, first of all, you describe it as impossible, but you don't really give a description of it prior to that. So, you're like, this is impossible, and the reader is like, what is it? What is impossible? Like, they can't judge for themselves because they don't know what it is. Right? Yeah.
I suppose.
Also, you use impossible as a thing in both paragraphs, which is kind of, I don't know.
Impossible. I didn't notice that. How did I not notice these things? Oh my gosh. Alright, well let's talk about what I've been doing then. I'm trying to bring Macy's voice to the front, and the book is written in third person. So it's not written from her point of view, but all the agents and such talk about strong voice. That's one of the most important things. So in reading through this again, after having not seen it for a while, I did notice long passages where Macy's voice kind of disappears. And I started to sort of collect little thoughts in my head about what makes the voice present, what makes it go missing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if you're a first person, the voice is kind of always present, and it's just a trick to make it consistent, right, and share the right things with the reader. In third person, it's really easy to slip into kind of a more distant mode where you're just describing the action that's happening. But to keep Macy's voice in the forefront, one thing is try to avoid like unmotivated action, right? So she does something and you see her do it, but you don't hear her thoughts about why she's doing it or what's Right, so I added in more Macy thoughts. This is my stupid example, and it's because there's an ironing board right there and a window right there. But if I was to say, Macy picked up the ironing board and threw it out the window, the reader would be like, that seems like a random and strange thing to do. Why? Right? If I was to say, I'm going to pick up the ironing board and throw it out the window, thought Macy, and then she did just that. That's not really any better. I don't quote her thoughts. It's still in the third person. It would be something like, that should do it. But then Macy saw the ironing board standing in the corner. It could be infected too. She grabbed it and threw it out the window. See, it could be infected too is representative of her thought and explains her action.
Nice. A wonderful example.
I found a lot of spots where there were filters, so Macy could see that the wall was painted green. You don't need Macy could see, just say the wall was painted green, because if you say it, then by definition Macy can see it. If you are consistently speaking through her voice and representing her point of view. Macy does have an attitude. I mean, she does have a point of view on life. If I was to say the last 2 weeks of school for Macy was boring and she felt lonely, that's a description of it, but it's from my point of view, not hers. If she would probably say the last few weeks of school sucked. She'd put it a different way because she's 12. So we have to keep that in mind. Think about what her voice is like when she gets an opportunity to describe something in her head. Describe it in Macy language. You ever run into any point of view, little struggles with point of view that you've noticed, that you know how you've dealt with it?
Oof, I don't know. I often, when I'm trying to start writing something, have to, because I'll have my notebook in which the project lives, and I'll just write, brainstorm, outline, and so sometimes if I have a clear idea for a scene, I'll just like jot down a super duper duper rough draft of the scene, and then sometimes when I look back I'm like, oh well, this one scene is written in first person, but this other scene is written in third person, so then I have to be like, well, what's it gonna be? So then I have to like pick a scene and kind of write it both ways and see which way I think is working, and then sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna do this way, and then I gotta get a little bit further, and I'm like, maybe it should be the other way. So
yeah, it seems like a big decision at the beginning of a project to figure out first person point of view, third person point of view.
Because I mean, we had to do that for Inklings, but it's been so long that
Yeah, we did that. We rewrote the first 3 chapters or so from first person to third person in trying to decide how we wanted to go with it.
The very first Inklings thing is written in first person.
Yeah. I think we decided we could handle third person better.
Yeah. My short story that I wrote is in first person present tense, and I both like and dislike that.
My short story is in first person present tense, and I liked it. I like writing that one.
I don't know. I guess I'm just not confident writing like that, so I always feel like it reads awkward. Nobody else thought it read awkward, so.
Okay.
So far, nobody else thought it read awkward. I was, because it had to be a series of moments, I wanted to do as much to be present in each individual moment, which meant.
Oh, that's an excellent reason to be writing in present tense.
Yeah.
I like it.
Do you have a preference when it comes to first person versus third person versus second person?
Do you have a preference, Evalyn? I can't tell if you have one or not.
Yeah, so comment down below, do you have a preference first or third person? I feel like I read somewhere recently that first person books actually do better on the young adult New York Times list.
Really? What about middle grade?
I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah, I think first person makes a little more sense for a young adult because kids that age, characters that age, are going to be a little more sophisticated about self-reflection.
Yeah.
So they can get deep into their own thoughts.
For the project I'm outlining, that's a young adult book, and I think I'm leaning more toward first person, which is harder, but we'll see. So if you liked this video and you want to keep following us on our writing journey, then please consider clicking that subscribe button and leave a big thumbs up and let us know that you liked it. We will be back next week with another video, and if you want to know when I post that, you should ring that little bell icon somewhere up here and you'll get notifications for our channel.
That's handy. Until then, remember,
Two heads are better than one.